open internet access to reporters who are going to report on these games. But of course, the problem still exists, no matter what changes they make for those reporters. The problem still exists for the whole country, does it not? Because of the system put in place, which I think is known as the Golden Shield, which creates, instead of an internet, a kind of giant intranet. Can you tell us how that actually works?
Well, starting in 2000, the year 2000, Beijing has determined that the internet is perceived to be a threat for undermining the authoritarian regime. So they spent $800 million to build up this firewall system. It's called Golden Shield, nicknamed Great Firewall of China. They hired over 50,000 cyber cops to monitor the online information flow. And essentially, they built up 3 gateways between the Chinese internet and world cyberspace in Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Beijing. So every information that is communicated between the Chinese internet and outside the world has to go through these 3 gateways. So all that Beijing need to do is just filter and control the 3 gateways. That effectively turning the Chinese internet into an intranet.
So you say there are 50,000 basically cyber sensors who work at these gateways. Is that correct?
Yes.
Monitoring sites the Chinese government does not like, or information, specific information?
Yes, there are, with the 3 gateways and 40+ monitoring centers around, throughout China. What happens is they will filter and block information such as the websites of Tibetans, Falun Gong, the pro-democracy Taiwan, or even human rights, and including the name of Jiang Zemin actually was blocked, who was the former head of a state. And so any information that is deemed as dangerous, threatening to the regime will be blocked. It is quite effective because they use keyword filtering, they use domain name redirection, connection reset, quite a number of ways to effectively block the overseas internet information. Fortunately, according to yesterday, Washington Post, there's a group, it's called Global Internet Freedom Consortium. This group has a website, it's called internetfreedom.org. They offer several free anti-censorship software that people can use. And actually, some journalists based in Beijing are already using this software to access to overseas websites and are sending secure emails. So it's highly recommended to people, to use to access, the internetfreedom.org to get all this free software to operate in China.
It'll be interesting to see whether this interview gets censored and appears on the internet in China. But we'll have a look at that, obviously, overnight when it appears on the internet and see what happens tomorrow. In the meantime, where did the technology come from to actually to do this, for the Chinese government to do this?
Well, thanks to the foreign conglomerates like Yahoo, Google, Cisco, and Microsoft, over 300 foreign companies have signed the so-called self-disciplinary pledge with the Chinese authorities, meaning that they will self-censor themselves based on the content the block, is deemed as dangerous by the Beijing authorities. So the Chinese users inside of China are unable to access foreign prohibited websites. And there's one reporter, Shi Tao, who tried to send an email overseas and got sentenced to a 10 years jail term. Thanks to Yahoo's email system, they provide his personal email to the Beijing authorities. And this is a case that we know, but we believe there are many other people who have been sent to jail without the public awareness.
Now, the argument made by these companies is that the system, the regime, will change over time. It will become freer, and inevitably things like this internet site you're talking about, which will unscramble the censorship will emerge in China and they will get free access to information. Is that how do you think it's going to work?
It's not likely because the fact speaks the opposite. The people in China are still unable to access, the overseas websites, including the Chinese language website of BBC, until recently only limited within the Olympic Village for the media center. The majority of people cannot access, to the overseas sites. And the most alarming thing is recently there was a media report in the United States reporting that the Cisco company internal document indicates they agree to collaborate with Beijing in terms of censoring any content related to Falun Gong websites. So that's kind of alarming because the U.S. company are not allowed, to collaborate with the foreign government in terms of such censorship on the U.S. soil.
Tell me, we're nearly out of time, unfortunately, but tell me what you think will happen inside China once the spotlight, the international spotlight, goes off again. I mean, it's going to be on for this period of the Games. There'll be this period of great hope and so on. But what will happen afterwards, do you believe?
Well, people will come back to the reality. You have the inflation rate is up 11% at 7.1% compare, with the past. And then you have, I mentioned 150 million so-called floating population, the peasants, migrating from rural area to the city looking for jobs. And you have 20 million each year people looking for jobs, and plus 20% of the college graduates looking for jobs. And then you have disparity issue, between the inland and the coastal residents. And then you have disparity between the rural and the urban dwellers. So there's also a social unrest factor. In the year 2005, the government admitted there's 87,000 large-scale protests. That's a tenfold increase compared with 1993. That's an indicator of the grassroots dissatisfaction with the regime. And also, if you look at the financial sector, 70% last year, probably 50% of the Chinese growth come from the capital investment, FDI, foreign direct investment. So it's essentially an exported economy, not self-sustainable. If they want to continue the 10% GDP growth, short of the natural resource and energy supply domestically.
Well, Erping Zhang, we're out of time, I'm afraid. Hopefully we'll be able to speak to you again at some point, maybe after the Games are over. But we thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us. A very different perspective on what's going on in China right now. Thank you.